mentioned recently is that AI fundamentally changes the interface, but not the fundamentals of security. So now we're going to get into that good little bit about security. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this because I know some people, multiple people mentioned and had questions on it. Um, Agents, in some cases, may overshare their data through chat tools, and this kind of comes back to this idea of not giving an agent access to too many different MCP servers or data sources at once, right? There's a principle in security called principle of least privilege, if any of you heard of that, right? And so, the way to mitigate this in the enterprise is that we have what's called human in the loop, right? Because an agent, one of the core ways that it functions is through a loop. One of the cool things about an agent, like for example, when I gave that example of, oh, hey, go search my email, it starts to think, it looks at my calendar, it does things, and it actually continuously is performing actions on my behalf, like going and checking multiple data sources, thinking about what it should do, drawing out a plan, taking the prompt or input that I gave it, and mapping out the tasks and output that it needs to generate for me, and kind of the way that it works is that it plans, reasons, observes, and acts, and it runs that kind of paradigm in a loop until it's able to achieve whatever task I provided it. That's why it's like an agent, because it's able to do some of the stuff more autonomously instead of me having to hold its hand, right? Like ChatGPT in the first days, I'd have to say, hey, can you tell me how to do this? Oh, okay, cool. It gives you a bunch of stuff. Okay, but what about this? And then you have to kind of like handhold it to do things. Whereas in the new agentic paradigm, the goal is that you do more with less, right? But there are, again, risks of that, right? Is that there's this concept of degrees of autonomy. So as we increase the amount of autonomy that an AI system could potentially have, we increase the risk that the AI does something we don't want it to do, because we are not necessarily, having a fine tooth comb or a magnifying glass in every single moment that it's doing that task, because the goal is that it does things and infers the steps that it needs to take in order to be able to achieve some objective, right? We at Ascendi in some of our courses define agentic AI or agent AI agents as goal-directed adaptive behavior, right? You have a goal that you're trying to achieve, right? And you adapt your own functioning and run in a loop in order to be able to reach and meet that goal, the same way that a human kind of does, right? If I give a junior engineer, a person on my team, a task, right, I kind of expect if they have some experience and I don't have to hold their hand and they've been at the company for a little bit, that they're going to go figure out all the steps, even in some of the things that they don't know, in order to be able to solve that thing. And the same type of thing we're trying to replicate with our AI agents. But that being said, if we overshare our data through either chat tools or AI tools, we can potentially risk things like data sensitivity, leakage, and things. One of the really interesting things, like I don't know if people have heard about some of these security leaks recently that happened at big companies like Anthropic, where they leaked some source code. I heard about one recently at Versal, which again is another big name in AI. I heard one at Lovable. So, and these are companies where they're like AI first companies, and AI is a quote unquote core part of their brand. So it's one of the interesting things where security has become a really big thing. I don't know what group of hackers out there hacking every single AI platform out there, but it's something that is happening quite a bit. So security is a real challenge now, and so part of those things is minimizing the blast radius. This is one of the challenges, for example, with OpenClaw. A lot of different cybersecurity firms say OpenClaw is a nightmare, but I like to have diverse perspectives. So I've also, for example, seen conference talks by the founder of OpenClaw, Peter Steinberger. I think that's his name. Or I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but his name is Peter S. And he talks about, oh, well, everyone talks about security, this and this, and he kind of like scoffs at the idea of security. But there are some real challenges with security. Let's be real. And NVIDIA and OpenAI and a lot of these companies are on board trying to do security. Claude released a new model that detected software that had issues in Firefox browser that are 27 years old. So we're basically, to like distill all of that, I don't want to say noise, but distill all of the buzz. What I would say is stick to the fundamentals, understand the fundamentals of security and the way that you already have it, and what are the principles that you already have, and recognize that I mean, security in the age of AI has a couple of more elements of complexity. However, the fundamentals about how people get access to your file systems and things in your things in your network, etc., are fundamental. But that being said, if I have the choice to build a custom data integration or an MCP, I almost always would use MCP because MCP, because of its open source traction, has a lot of elements that are wired and built for security. Does that mean that it's guaranteed to be secure? No, that's not necessarily the case. But the idea is that the protocol itself is built for security. Another example of an incident pattern, overprivileged tokens reaching production systems. So the way that you want to address this is that you want to have file system sandboxing and least privilege across scoping. I mean, principle of least privilege was something that was been good in security, and it's something that it's the fruit that keeps on giving, and it's still something that's useful today. One of the things that I'll share is if you want to learn more about check out these frameworks. Uh, there's a couple of common things that we teach, and we also have cybersecurity, AI, and cybersecurity courses. Um, but I'll put a couple of these frameworks that you can check out. You can even feed it to your AI and tell it to teach you about it as well. Um, so there's a couple of different types of things like data poisoning, prompt injection. So there's those aspects of kind of learning how things have changed. One of the big challenges with security in the world of AI is that when we talk about cybersecurity, for example, there's this idea of a threat surface, right? Where does a potential actor or threat actor or attacker have access to? And the challenge is that the threats, what I think about as a threat surface, has greatly increased. And so the way that I think about it is thinking about establishing when I'm consulting with organizations about establishing security at their organization is thinking about, kind of concentric circles uh, or tiered levels where you have like limited blast radius, right? Right. Every single system, every single wiring and plumbing, and age at the level of even agents and systems and the people that are using certain tools or platforms that are agentic, etc. Try to minimize the blast radius. For example, if your company is just getting started with AI, I would recommend don't just go ahead and build a customer support chatbot with an agentic system that you have because maybe you haven't necessarily actually really dive into what problems might exist. So, one of the easiest, simple things that I recommend people to start with is, start the exploration of agentic AI and AI systems, especially the newer and latest and greatest things, with internally facing tools first before you expand to a public interface.